Someone once said that you can't go home again, but they lacked vision.
You think you do, but you don't.
And a temporal discombobulator.
Man, I miss the 2019 Classic. I know a lot of people talk about World of Warcraft in a nostalgic way. There are endless videos and the stories of playing World of Warcraft right after coming from the video game store, listening to Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day, Doritos Dust on the keyboard, Mountain Dew fueling every brainwave, making friends, sometimes whole damn families inside the game. And I love those stories. They built this almost mythical version of early World of Warcraft in my head, because the thing is, I never lived that. I'm a latecomer to World of Warcraft and to gaming in general. I didn't really start playing video games until the end of high school. Not because I didn't want to, but because I just couldn't. That's a whole different story though for another video. So when it comes to World of Warcraft, I started in Legion, not in Vanilla, not in TBC, not in Wrath. So I have zero nostalgia for anything pre-Legion. But hearing those stories, man, nobody talked about mechanics or systems. It was all vibes, memories, and you had to be there kind of thing, you know? And I'll be honest, it made me jealous. I thought I'd missed something I'd never get back. I was nostalgic for something I never lived. And that is a much more common experience than you might believe. Really, look it up. It's fascinating. Anyway, then I heard Classic was happening. Suddenly I was ready to time travel, you know? I ignored the obvious fact that it could never truly be the same, and just like Blizzard, I had no idea what I was getting into. Fast forward to 2019, Classic launches, I roll a priest, and that's it. From that moment, Classic WoW became my game, my favorite multiplayer game, period. I only took a break once, around early 2023, and somehow, almost 6 years later, I'm still not bored with this fucking game. But let's be real, as much as I still love Classic, the best part of this whole journey was 2019 and 2020, when everything was new, when I was experiencing it for the first time. And I know 5 to 6 years might sound way too short to be nostalgic about, but I genuinely am. Because those 5 years changed so many things, and I'm willing to bet that they did for most of you as well. Way more than you normally expect in such a short period of time. Just compare the release of 2019 Classic to the release of the Anniversary Realms. And damn, it feels like two different planets, you know? Both in terms of the game itself, but also life in general. So maybe, historically speaking, it's too soon to be nostalgic, but these years are an exception. I don't really know who you are, but I suspect you feel the same way. But there's another thing that's weird about this. It also feels a bit bad. Not nostalgia itself, that's fine, but when nostalgia is tied to World of Warcraft, I don't know, some people almost seem to hate it, like it's something shameful. Mad Season has an incredible video about this that I like to revisit from time to time. I'll link it in the description if you're curious. I just hope you won't judge me for liking certain things simply because I just miss them. That's honestly enough of a reason for me. Anyway, let's talk about 2019 and 2020. Let's talk about Classic. Sit down, relax, and please do not drive because we're about to get high as a kite on nostalgia. If I think about 2019, I think about still being in college, barely being able to afford the monthly sub. I remember constantly looking up stuff before Classic even launched, watching wheelies.
Was it any good though?
Rewatching that Priest in Classic episode over and over again just to get myself hyped about finally playing it. I remember reading Cycle of Hatred, Rise of the Horde, Tides of Darkness, Beyond the Dark Portal, and of course Rise of the Lich King, for the first time all of them, just so I could understand and get immersed in everything that happened before vanilla. I remember watching Asmongold's beta videos, raiding Ogrimmar, and being genuinely confused why everyone was losing their minds when a random green item dropped, and why some warriors were wearing robes and using staves. I remember trying to convince my roommates, who were deep into retail at the time, that this might actually be the shit, which was hard because we all really loved pushing high mythic plus keys. But it felt like I was the only one who could see beyond that at the time. And I also remember BFA, goddamn, because by the end of it I was getting more and more burned out. I remember wanting to gouge my eyes out every time I saw an underrot key. And I remember the creators I followed and all of them feeling the same way. Everyone was starting to hate how much retail felt like a job and how little it felt like a game or a world you could actually get immersed in. Because of all of this, Classic reached almost a legendary status in my mind. That was probably the most hyped I've ever been for a video game, except maybe the Silent Hill 2 remake. And yes, hype like that can absolutely backfire. Just look at Cyberpunk. People thought it was the second coming of Jesus, and then it launched, and you know how it went. But with Classic, it didn't. Not only did it live to the hype, it exceeded it. Classic was everything I imagined and even more. And the reason for that is, just like the people back in 2004, there was so much I didn't know about this game. For the longest time, I thought I kinda knew what was up. I played retail a lot. Classic must be similar to retail, right? They're kind of the same game. And I also watched tons of videos about Classic. I consumed so much vanilla content before release. I believed I was an expert. Turns out, not only did Classic and BFA have almost nothing in common beyond sharing a name, but Classic was also way more complex than I ever expected. Not complex in the sense of being hard to play, hell no, but complex in terms of depth. I had dumb moments too, just like the people in 2004, like discovering that spells are insanely expensive. I wasted so much gold on the auction house, not realizing I'd end up using outdated spells for a very long time because I couldn't afford new ones, which then meant I couldn't afford my level 40 mount either. I remember trying PvP and understanding absolutely nothing. Where do these people get all these trinkets, and why the hell do I always just die whenever I see an elemental shaman? I remember spending over 6 hours in my first BRD run because that place is absolutely massive and the corpse run is pure suffering. Still my favorite dungeon, by the way. I remember insanely stupid but hilarious moments too. Boarding the Zeppelin in Ogrimmar, hearing that and suddenly getting punched to death by a bunch of high-level naked gnomes. Just hands, no weapons. And the loot drama, holy shit, nothing could have prepared me for the loot drama.
Yeah, I want that ring. I do.
Alright. Who else wants it other than rogues? Because all the rogues can't roll on it. Kron, what are you doing?
The fuck? Oh my god! What the fuck? Oh my god.
I'm going to kill myself right now. See ya! Get right.
This game was huge. This game was a real RPG. There were actual human beings that were part of this world, and it was the best thing ever. The game felt perfect. I finally understood what that journey everyone had been hyping up for years was actually about. I finally knew why people were losing their minds over a 4 stamina, 4 strength leather belt. Every new zone felt interesting. The vibe of the game reminded me way more of the original Warcraft games. The dungeons and the raids were exciting because of the loot that actually mattered. You cared, you remembered drops, you talked about them. But the game itself wasn't the only reason it felt good, you know? Because it also felt like you were part of something bigger, because everybody was playing. No one was telling you that you're a loser stuck in the past with nostalgia tinted glasses for playing vanilla. Or at least way fewer people did that, you know? All the OG creators were still covering WoW full time, and a lot of them were at their absolute peak actually. Asmon, Preach, Mad Season, Soda, Pyromancer, and so many others. And then there was the pandemic. And yes, I know it sucked for a lot of people. But for me personally, it didn't. which feels weird to say because I had to move back with my parents during my last year of college and I had to live in a very small apartment with my whole family. But I had a laptop, and on that laptop I had Classic. What I didn't have was that voice in the back of my head making me feel guilty for playing 12 hours a day, like I should be socializing or going out and touching grass. It was literally illegal to do that, and turns out, at least for a period of time, that really worked in my favor. No one was judging me, including myself, and that boosted my enjoyment of the game a lot. Beyond just not feeling bad about playing all day though, it also added to that feeling of being part of something, because everyone was home, everyone was playing. And yes, I know the average age of a Classic World of Warcraft player is somewhere in the late 70s and maybe early 80s, but somehow the whole thing made it feel like everyone was back in high school because everyone was just logged in and playing and grinding a lot. So past all the bullshit that the pandemic brought, at the end of the day, people were just playing this game because what else was there to do? That entire year is basically a blur for me. Online college classes I barely remember, and my priest. That's late 2019 and most of 2020 in my brain. Just that, my priest. I'm not an introvert in the sense that I cannot talk to people. I can, quite easily actually. I just prefer being alone. I don't really like parties, and guess what's a surprisingly social experience that also lets you stay locked in your house for months. Of course, vanilla. And even outside the game, it was such a good time to be a Classic fan. So much fun content was coming out constantly. Remember that all those creators we loved were still making videos about this game. Personally, it was also the last year before I got a job. No job, school was kind of a joke because the college teachers weren't prepared for a fully online experience. Just Classic on a shitty laptop. Everybody playing, everybody hyped, all my friends playing, no Shadowlands yet, no lawsuit either, that helped too. Those were the days, man. Those were the days. And for those of you who played vanilla back in the day, I don't know, I imagine it might have been even better, right? Because I see that most people actually forgotten that game. So it felt new again, but you also had a childhood nostalgia that made it feel special. Anyway, that's the video. A bit different this time. I just had a massive burst of nostalgia these past days and felt like talking about it. Anyway, let me know how you feel about it in the comments, and if you like the video, consider subscribing and liking. Till next time, peace.